While the 2020 academic year is expected to end on the 15th of December, the Department of Education says pupils will only take 1 week break in October. Some grades have not been in school since March. Currently, all public schools have been closed. So to get reaction on the revised academic calendar, Allen Thompson from the National Teachers Union joins me now from Durban. Allen, thanks all for joining us this evening. What say you of this new revised calendar?
Well, no, thank you very much, and good evening to the viewers. As the National Teachers Union, we have been in the consultation process with the Department of Basic Education, and the expectation is that we consult with our members. We are in the process of consulting with our members, and we'll be making a formal submission tomorrow before 12 o'clock. But there are certain issues, perhaps, that I can draw your attention to. Firstly, is that issue of grade 12 reopening on Monday. Now, the concern that we are having is that we have not received a report in terms of what has been done in those schools that could not reopen because they were not COVID-19 compliant, which means we still have schools that are without water, schools without the PPEs, shortages of teachers, all those issues that we said we were going to utilize the whole of last week to mop up and make sure that we assist those schools to be in the right state so that they can reopen. Like we have correctly put it, not only the lower grades have not reopened in other provinces, also schools with grade 12 could not reopen, schools with grade 7 could also not reopen because they are not COVID-19 compliant. But another concern we are having is a concern about examination being written in December, and the last day will be the 15th of December. We are trying now to check with the members whether are they going to have enough time to finalize everything that needs to be taught the learners so that learners can be ready to write examination during that kind of a period. Because most of the time, at that time, it's only matric teachers who will be in the institution, marking in the marking centers, but most of the learners will be at home at that time. So that is what, those are the things that we are trying to check, whether is it really going to be workable or we must request for the department to consider a matric examination being written in January, and thereafter marking also continue in January, obviously results between February and March. But we are just finalizing consultation process, but we are worried about also the high level of infection rate, which has not declined for matric to open on Monday. We are asking ourselves whether did that serve any purpose to close because we're complaining about the high rate of infection. So those are the all things that we are trying to put into consideration and make a submission to the department.
Allen, let me ask you this. At face value, I mean, looking at it, we've got about 163 actual school days, and that's been designated for teachers. On the other side of it, 156 days for learners. I'm asking you now at face value, if you have to just look at it, will this curriculum or this academic year, will it put pressure on teachers, particularly in being able to cover the curriculum for the year 2020? At face value, I know that you're consulting, but does the calendar make sense for the teachers who have to be then implementing it?
For those teachers that are in township schools or that are in rural schools that have never had a benefit of an online learning, it does not make sense at all. In fact, part of the people that have been complaining are those that are coming to the areas I'm talking about because they are far behind in as far as the contact time is concerned, teaching of the required curriculum, preparing learners to be ready within a scope of 156 days. That is why then we are saying part of the things we are considering is to push the academic year with at least 1 or 2 weeks, just allowing those teachers to mop up and prepare learners to write examination. Yes, for those schools that are having the online learning, they might not have a serious problem because at the beginning of the year, they were able to teach Saturday early classes, and they were able to push as much as they could. But under the circumstance, it is not enough for both learners. It's not also, both learners and teachers.
And also, I mean, you mentioned a very pertinent issue around the preparation of schools while schools were not in commencement. So obviously looking at the fact that matriculants go back to school on Monday and then obviously the following week it's grade 7s. Has there been no report given from the Department of Basic Education in terms of the progress made thereof or the extra contingency plans for ensuring that indeed the schools are safer? Have you not received that report from the Department of Basic Education in terms of the progress?
No, we haven't received any report because on the meeting we had on Thursday, we were just talking about these directives, and also the Director General indicated that he is going to liaise with all the provinces and make sure that they put all systems in place just to make sure that grade 12 learners, all the schools are ready to resume as soon as Monday. But unfortunately, until now, we were expecting reports from various provinces in terms of the list of schools that were provided in various provinces that are having problems with PPEs, that are having problems with sanitation and additional human resource. I'm talking about teachers and those that are supposed to screen and also clean the institutions that were not employed at that time. Yeah. So we are very worried that some of the schools are not likely to open on Monday because of the problems that I'm citing right now.
You know, Alan, I don't even want us to look at it from a union perspective, just from a humanistic perspective, or even as a teacher's perspective. If you have not received that report and children are supposed to go back to school on Monday, what does that say about the competencies within the Department of Basic Education? I mean, how then do you work even alongside them, even as unions, as teachers, if you don't know what kind of condition you're going into?
Well, in fact, it's one of the reasons why we were pushing for the school closure. And unfortunately, the president of the country and the cabinet of the Republic of South Africa decided only to grant the provinces only a week to rectify the mistakes that were committed, which also deprived learners an opportunity to get their constitutional right of receiving perfect education. But now we are seeing that we are not receiving the report. We are concerned about that. It means that we are now back to square one because there are no water tanks that have been provided in schools. And some of the schools, they do have water tanks, but unfortunately, those water tanks were not refilled. We were expecting tankers that perhaps the whole of last week will be coming to schools, delivering water, making sure that they also deliver the masks, the hand sanitizers, because the majority of the schools that were assisted to be COVID-19 compliant are no longer having those things that are supposed to be having in those particular schools for the schools to be able to continue with the teaching and learning, which is their core function. We are also worried about this, but we are hoping that the Department of Basic Education will be able to give us something comprehensive tomorrow, which will give guidance to the parents. Unfortunately, it's only tomorrow that parents are having to confirm whether the schools where a child will be going on Monday is COVID-19 compliant or not. We cannot pretend as if some of the schools were just closed simply because of the holidays. They were closed because of the high infection rate, and also some of the schools were not COVID-19 compliant. Yeah. And it was granting the department an opportunity to mop up and make sure that all schools are ready. But in other areas, such things have never happened.
Alan, you know, we could speak the entire evening about this matter, but we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately. All the best for tomorrow to getting that status update where schools are concerned. Allen Thompson there from the National Teachers Union giving us a, should we say, a sober analysis of where schools are at present as the new calendar has now been released.